Stay gone away. When you're not around, I feel amazed.
Michael Brown, that was an Akata. His daddy is an Akata. And it's a shame, because his dad, so he was just like destined. I always said any celebratory Come Guzzler Harris by these mammies is all fake and phony. Because if any of these mammies supported that whore.
Nation, one nation, but joy cometh
Come
in the
on,
morning.
Joe!
We will get through this.
We gonna get through this together, y'all.
Together.
Ooh, Joe, we gonna get through this together. Oh yeah. No, y'all ain't even considered. Y'all ain't even in the boat.
It's election year. It's an election year. We gotta put out a movie for Waaaycism and the injustice of the blacks by the whiteys. We gotta go so far back. We gotta go back to Emmitt Till, cause we can't pull up nothing more recent to show how blacks are being done so dirty by the cracker in America, in white supremacist America. Oh, George Floyd. Oh, what all them other shootings or whatever. But yet still we have more blacks that have killed more black people than any police officer could ever have done. And that's just in 1 year. But never mind that. We're gonna go all the way back to Emmitt Till. And this is and I want all video, sound, and music used during this broadcast falls under fair use. Fair use is allowed for the purpose of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe on copyright under 17 USC 107. And I am Axel of Axetruth.com, and I'm getting ready to cut through this bullshit. Now, if you've never seen my live show, you probably don't know. I've spoken about this Emmitt Till story many times before they made this movie. Because I'm tired of hearing about and talking about and revisiting the Emmitt Till story and how some white woman lied on the black man and the black boy got dragged and beaten and lynched and all this other stuff. I heard this story many moons ago. It's the same damn story. I don't have no emotions over that. I'm supposed to carry some kind of emotion over that and put it off on white people. All white people should carry the burden of Emmitt Till because of some injustice. And I know it's going to be some mammy and Sambo that watches this video and they're going to sit and say, oh, you don't think you're saying it was right? It was right, he deserved. No, I didn't say that at all. I said I'm tired of hearing that, digging up that story. When we've had plenty of Emmitt Tills and worse in reverse since then. And I don't see white folks out here crying and whining and marching and making movies about the injustice of the violence and torture, unprovoked violence from blacks to whites that happens in this country every day. See, wrong is wrong, no matter what color it is. I don't care. What happened to Emmitt Till was wrong. It was wrong. I'm just tired of hearing you dig it up and talk about it. And now, since it's an election year, we know the rhymes with gonna put out a good old oppression movie for the shines to go to the polls and vote for Waaaycism and white supremacy. Go vote for the Democrats. That's the only reason why these movies come out in an election year. And then they go march. They go marching like Sambos, the mammies, to the polls for justice. And no justice, no peace, black power. And all that other trained bull BS y'all been doing for 50, 60 years now, and it's gotten you nowhere. It's doing nothing. It's just something for you guys to do. The only thing that you probably can agree on. But you want to call yourself in a community. Other than that, that's the only time y'all agree on anything when you're talking about white people and racism and white supremacy. Let's watch the trailer here.
This was my boy, Emmitt Till. I got a letter today from Auntie Lizzie. She said Bo's been working the fields. I can't imagine. Oh, he just doesn't understand how different things are in Mississippi. Are you listening?
Yes.
Be small down there.
Like this?
Emmitt never thought anything would happen to him.
Meet the mommy, Simmy!
He just wanted to go on vacation and have fun with his cousins. But if my son could just get his feet back onto the Chicago soil, he'd be one happy kid. I don't know why I said that.
The drama of it all.
I want to talk to you about that boy.
They come for you. They coming for you. Look at the dramatization of it. Ooh. Oh, yes. This happens all the time. So much of this.
It's hard to describe what a mother knows.
Yes.
The first thing I noticed when I became a mother was that my hands were busy.
Ooh.
All the time.
Uh-huh.
My hand knew him with my eyes closed.
Ooh, yes,
Just
that's
like
so
I know
deep.
his laughter in a crowded room.
Of course you do.
It's the same thing when you know all of someone.
Ooh, look at the pain.
My boy, Emmitt Till.
Look how they just do it. Just show her crying and whoa, yes, it's my boy Emmitt Till. He's killed by Whitey. Oh, the trauma of it all.
Of Emmitt Louis Till has been found dead.
Can I at least just fix him up a bit?
No, they have to see it for themselves.
Oh, yes.
You
they
tell
gotta
me,
see
baby, how is risking your life gonna help you?
Those pictures of your son
it. Oh, yes.
changed people's lives.
It really
I
did.
can't look, baby.
You gotta look.
We have to.
Yes.
The lynching of my son has shown.
Wait, let me stop this and let me see. What does this say? Now, let me see who this is. Wait a minute. Well, let me get back to who. From the director of Shiante Chukwukwu. Okay, it's Asian. Well, okay.
The lynching of my son has shown me that what happens to any of us, anywhere in the world, had better be the business of us all.
You heard that? That last line. That's why they made the movie. It has to be the business of us all. In 2022. And you got these Sambos running around now, somewhere up in North Carolina, trying to get the lady who falsely accused him of doing something or whatever. She admitted it or something, trying to get her arrested. Want her arrested. She's like 80-something years old or something. You mean to tell me, with all the unsolved murders, all the innocent children who have died from gun violence in these black neighborhoods, in the black community, that these Sambos and mammies don't want to jump up and find and get justice for them children? But you're gonna run out here with some Emmitt Till mess. Waste time doing crap like that. Cause that's gonna be justice. That's gonna be a win for the blacks. Yes, I'm going hard on this. I'm laughing at it. I don't care about this Emmitt Till story. And I'm going to say something that's going to probably piss somebody else. Fuck Emmitt Till. Fuck that story. I don't care nothing about it. Have no emotions over it. Because like I said, there have been plenty of stories where a white person was beaten, killed, murdered, savagely murdered, raped, sodomized, just tortured for hours. And I'm going to tell you one that will always ring. I'll never forget. I don't see white people in the street complaining about it. I don't see white people having a yearly march about it, but they should. But there's not a movie made about Christian Newsom, the murder of Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom, the murder and torture of them in Tennessee. This happened in 2007. It didn't make national news. It was gruesome. It was terrible. It was horrible what happened to them. So I don't, and because of this story alone, this is just one of many you can pull out. I covered one of an old woman who used to feed these minorities, these black men, and this team of black men that worked in her yard in South Georgia. She fed them and paid them, and they came back and they killed her and robbed her. And she was like 80-something years old. I think they set her on fire. But this is the year of we got to talk about Emmitt Till and what happened to him and the tragedy of that. And that's so bad. It's bad. Yes, it is. But there are plenty of stories where in reverse it has happened to white people. And I don't see the marches. I don't see the movies made about it. I hope a writer and a producer is brave enough to write the movie about Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom. I think that would be a really good movie to make, and a lot of people would. I think that movie really needs to be made. Maybe I should try writing a script for it. Maybe I need to start interviewing the father and everything, and go to Tennessee and interview the parents and start writing a script for it. And see if I can get someone to produce it and do the movie. But in the meantime, not to prolong this video, I'm going to let you watch and learn Glenn Beck describing the murders of Christopher Newsom and Shannon Christian. And at the end of you tell me, I think this trumps everything about Emmitt Till. That's why I say I don't want to hear anything about it.
When we originally talked about Oprah Winfrey on this show, on the radio show, about, I think last week, I got this call on the radio. Listen.
Let's go to Anita. Hello, Anita. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Yes, hi, Glenn. I guess what really has just upset me, this whole thing with Emmitt Till, never since the history of our great nation has there ever been a couple brutally tortured like Shannon Christian and Kristen Newsom in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm just wondering when, and I pray that it's you, is somebody going to share their horror? Because nobody, again, since the history of this great nation has ever been brutally tortured like that young couple. Okay. Never.
All right, well, let me look into it.
All right, so we said we would look into it. She asked when would somebody do something about it. And the answer is tonight. We did look into it. And I led with Oprah Winfrey and her non-apology apology because it was Emmitt Till that she said, oh, you know, it's just the same thing. Trayvon Martin and Emmitt Till, they're not. Emmitt Till is not the same story as Trayvon. And I did the monologue last week and said, would you tell me which one do you think? Does it sound the same? You tell me if there's any similarities here. The names the woman gave me were Christopher Newsom and Shannon Christian. Likely they mean as much to you as they did to me, but you'll never forget them after the next few minutes. Probably the first time you heard about them tonight. But the incident happened in 2007. Newsom, 23-year-old. He was a former standout baseball player. He was working as a carpenter. Christian, 21. Was a student at the University of Tennessee. They had been dating for about 2 months. On the night of January 6th, they planned to watch a movie at a friend's apartment. When Shannon didn't show up, she didn't show up to work the next day, the family became concerned, and they reported them both missing. Well, it turns out that the couple had made it to dinner, but when they arrived at the apartment complex where Christian's best friends lived, they were carjacked by multiple assailants. What followed was one of the most heinous, gruesome, senseless hate crimes ever. If you have kids, I suggest that you fast forward through this part of the program or put it on pause and watch it later. The evening started with a wonderful date, boyfriend and girlfriend. Now, here he was, gagged with a sock in his mouth. His ankles were bound with his own belt. His hands were tied behind his back, and his face was wrapped with a bandana. His head was covered with a sweatshirt that was tied around his neck. He was then violently raped with an object and beaten. One can only imagine the horror Christopher experienced as he was then forced to walk barefoot to the nearby railroad tracks, where he was shot in the neck and the back. But the shots didn't kill him. He fell to the ground and he was paralyzed. That's when the assailants stood over him, placed the gun against his covered head, and fired. They killed him execution style. But that's still not good enough. They then poured gasoline all over his body and set him ablaze. Now let me ask Miss Oprah Winfrey, what does that story sound like, Oprah? Gee, it sounds almost like Emmitt Till, doesn't it? This is your Emmitt Till story. It's not your sad hoodie story or your really tragically sad purse story. This is Emmitt Till. And you really can't think of a more horrific way to spend your last moments on the planet Earth than what I just described, until you hear what happened to his girlfriend. She was taken back to the assailant's home. She was forced into a back room of the house where she was hogtied with strips of fabric from a bedding set. For several hours, she endured brutal sexual assaults. She was repeatedly raped in every possible way imaginable. She was then kicked and beaten with several objects, including a broken chair leg. She suffered major wounds to her genital area. She also had major blows to the head. Bleeding, she was finally dragged out of the back room and into the living room. Realizing that they had left DNA on the victim, the attackers tried to cover their tracks. They poured bleach all over her. Realizing that they left DNA in the victim, they poured bleach down her throat. She was still alive when they wrapped her body in a black garbage bag. They wrapped her head in a white plastic grocery bag. Then she was placed in a garbage can in the kitchen of the house. She was still alive. Her last minutes on Earth were spent slowly suffocating in a garbage can after she had been savagely beaten and raped for hours. Here's one of the dirtbags explaining it. He, by the way, was trying to act like he had nothing to do with it at all.
Sunday night, he brings the girl out of his room, and I noticed that she didn't have any clothes on from the waist down, no shoes on, no socks. As he has her in the kitchen, me and Vanessa and George, he make all of us come in the kitchen in the back utility room, make us stand there for a minute. So as we're all standing there, he puts his arm around the girl's neck, tries to kill her, tries to choke her. He lets her go and she falls. She falls to the floor. We're all thinking that he didn't kill that girl. He ties the girl up, put her in the garbage can.
I just want to remind you that this was someone's daughter. This is not your standard case. It's so far beyond rape. It was so violent. The only explanation for it is hate and evil. But was it labeled a hate crime? No. No. Did it receive media attention at the time? I apologize to you. I don't know if I even covered this story. I don't know how it didn't get on the radar. Other than the story just doesn't fit the agenda of the media's favorite special interest groups. There were no Al Sharptons, no Jesse Jacksons. There's still no Al Sharpton, no Jesse Jackson. There's no one calling for social justice. The suspects? They're all convicted. The original judge was discovered to have a drug addiction. It got him disbarred. So wait a minute, what happened to their conviction? Well, that opened up the doors for the killers to try to abuse the justice system. And all but one have repeatedly pursued retrials and appeals. The lone female attacker had her sentence reduced by a third. This is a miscarriage of justice, forcing the family to live this horror over and over and over again every time they're dragged back into the court battle. And to give you an idea of what they're going through, here's Shannon's dad during the trial.
She was proud of her faith in God. And one of the things that hurts the most is she was proud that she saved herself for a husband someday. I will never get to walk her down the aisle. I will never dance with her at her wedding.
We live in a time now in America where special interest groups dictate what matters and what doesn't. Forgets the merits of what actually happened. Crimes are now judged based solely on who committed them and what they looked like and who the victim was. And if you don't fall into a group that has an Al Sharpton character hounding the media, well, then you're all out of luck. Why wasn't the story given real coverage? Because the victims were young, white, a couple in a nice car, and the killers were 4 black men and 1 black woman. Is it because there's no special interest group that covers this category of crime? Real social justice will happen when justice is blind, and when we all remember that only God can oversee true and everlasting justice. And we all remember vengeance belongs solely to Him.
I think Glenn Beck said it all, but I want to thank 1-888 I'm Tellin, because that came from his channel, and I just want to use that in this piece, because when I found out, and I covered that story many moons ago on my original Axetruth channel, the one that got the millions of subscribers that they hid from me on YouTube, and I talked about this, and that story, finding out about that story in 2018 is when I found out about it. It happened in 2007, 11 years later. And then I went and researched, and I'm going to put a link to a USA Today article in the description so you can go look at more about the case and listen to the father. My heart went out to the parents. Could you imagine having to live with the trauma of knowing what your children went through, how they were killed and tortured, how they lived the torture and the pain they went through until they finally died. All for what? What was the motive other than pure evil? But we got to hear about Emmitt Till and talk about them mean old racist white people. Look what they did to us. They ain't did shit to me. That happened over 50 years ago. And they have to go, and black people got to go dig that up. And the powers that be got to dig that bullshit up. Always got to dig something up that happened over 40, 50, 60 years ago. But if we start digging with the white people to dig up what's the injustices, the violence, the brutal murders, the unprovoked attacks, the torture of white people at the hands of blacks, there'd be so many stories. It would just be ongoing. But just like Glenn Beck said, the special interest group, it doesn't serve. There's no special interest group for white people. Their lives don't matter. Even though black lives don't matter either. That's just a slogan created to make black people look stupid, to sit up here and talk about it, say something like that when we know if their lives matter, blacks should stop killing each other. But they don't. But we got to hear about Emmitt Till. Put your comments below. Share this video. Subscribe to my channel. Tell me what you think about this movie being produced. You know, an election year propaganda oppression movie. Just for votes. Peace out, everyone.